Hello everyone, and welcome back to True Haunting Log. Here, we document real ghost incidents, unexplained encounters, and the terrifying reality of the paranormal from around the world. In this video, we have two allegedly true scary stories sent in by subscribers involving creatures that invade our safest spaces. These stories are about the moments when the locks on the doors don't matter. When you're lying in bed, paralyzed, and something is watching you from the closet. When a camping trip turns into a standoff with a creature that knows your name. As always, if you have a story you would like to share, you can send it to truehauntinglog@gmail.com. Now, get comfortable and let's get into the stories. Story 1, Baker Lake Skinwalker Thing, submitted by Alex. I, my sister, my mom, and her boyfriend went camping around 4 hours from our house. We've gone camping well over 40 times before at least, so I have a bit of experience. My mom's boyfriend, whom we'll call Chris, and I arrived before my mom and sister, whom we'll call Leela. This wasn't much of a problem because everyone knew the area very well. So Chris and I did the usual. We gathered firewood and set up the equipment. I was pretty big for my age, and it took a lot for me to get cold, so people knew if I complained about it being cold, everyone else was already freezing. I'm an avid hunter, and I'm very protective of my friends and family. So around 10 at night, when I was just about to go to sleep, my mom, Leela, and my 3 dogs arrived at the campsite. My mom asked me to help unload some stuff, and once we did, not too long after we went to sleep, I and my dog Lucy woke up at the same time, somewhere around 3 inches in the morning. Believe me when I say it was freezing cold. But not a few seconds after waking up, I heard a voice. It was distorted. It sounded like my mom, but wrong, like her voice was being played through a broken speaker. Come help me. I was extremely tired, and I didn't want to. I knew I'd get in trouble if I didn't, though this was a big mistake. I put my shoes on and stepped out of the tent. I looked up to the cars, expecting to see my mom. Even though my vision was still a bit blurry, I saw something. Something black and hairy was hunched over on top of my car. I thought it was a bear. In fear, I pulled out the knife in my sheath. I was about to start yelling at the thing to ward it off. But then, it started laughing at me. A low, mocking chuckle that sounded far too human. I froze. My dog began to growl, hackles raised. And the creature stood up. It mimicked Lucy's growl perfectly. She whimpered and backed away. Then this creature jumped from the car to 7 feet in front of me. It landed with a heavy thud, thump, and let out a shriek so loud that my head hurt. I could hear everyone else waking up in their tents, zippers unzipping in panic. Chris came out seconds later with his loaded gun. This thing looked at him, half asleep as well. Chris shot at the thing. Bang. And before I knew it, it had run off back into the woods on 2 legs. We ended up calling for help. This thing had scared the hell out of all of us. Even if it was just a bear, this thing was really close and threatened us basically. When the Fish and Wildlife Services got there, they took whatever samples they could find. We never really got an answer. But being Native American, I've always heard stories. So the word Skinwalker quickly came to mind on our way home. Story 2. It stayed with me for a week, submitted by Pyrocaster. Now before I start this, I need to make this clear. I was 11 years old at the time. I was a very plain and uninteresting guy all around. I haven't had any other experiences with creatures or the paranormal since this. And another thing, this lasted an entire week. What I'm about to tell you guys lasted from Monday all the way to the next Sunday. This happened over 8 years ago. I was in 6th grade at the time, and it was about midway through the year. We were all stressed, since the dreaded midterms were upon us, and none of us were prepared. The day went by as uneventful as usual, save for teachers telling us to get ready and whatnot. School ended, and I decided that I was going to do anything that night to relax, thanks to the annoying teachers constantly pestering us about those tests. I went home and watched some TV. A few movies later, it was time to go to bed, and this is when it started. I was tucked into bed since I was a complete mama's boy, and tried to go to sleep after the door was shut. Soon after, I heard the TV downstairs turn on, telling me my mom had sat down to watch TV. I tried to go to bed, but something was off. No sooner had I heard the TV turn on than I stopped hearing it. And I stopped hearing any other sort of noise coming from downstairs. This could usually be chalked up to my mom just going to bed. However, she would always turn the lights off. I could tell she hadn't gone to bed because I could still see all the lights on from under my door. As I wondered why I could no longer hear her, or anything from downstairs for that matter, I started to feel like I couldn't breathe. Scared, I tried to get up and move, call for help, and do anything to get someone's attention. I found out I couldn't move or make any sound regardless of how hard I tried. My mouth would open, but nothing would come out. I strained to move, but it felt like my muscles had been paralyzed. They wouldn't respond to what I wanted them to do. As I lay there trying to get someone's attention, I saw it. There by the closet door was that thing. It was large, not muscular. It was actually very skinny, and I could almost see its bones. But its height was what grabbed my attention right off the bat. It was probably 6 or 7 feet tall, as it was clinging onto the door and was hunching slightly so as to not hit the ceiling. It had very pale skin, however, I could not make out any details on it exactly, not that night anyways. The last thing I noticed about it was it had no face. It was just a blank slate, devoid of any features and devoid of any kind of hint as to why it was there. I looked at this thing feeling what I imagine is a primal instinct that is found in anything that looks into something like this. It was fear. Not the kind of fear you get when you see your parents get into a fight. Not the kind of fear you have when looking at a wild predator, really. No. This is what I would imagine the kind of fear you feel when you know that your life is at the whim of something altogether completely, horribly wrong. This thing stayed there on the door for hours. It never moved, not so much as an inch. It just stayed there and did nothing, just like how I could do nothing. As the hours passed and as the fear settled in, I could think to some degree. I realized that I had no idea what I was going to do. Mom would come in at 6:30 to wake me up, and this thing was still there, not making a sound or movement. The time was drawing nearer to when she was supposed to come and wake me up, and I began to panic. I tried to move, but I was still in that paralyzed state. I tried to scream, and nothing would come out. However, I could still see under my door, and I noticed that a shadow was walking up the stairs and towards it. I still couldn't do anything, but as the door opened and I glanced over to it, I immediately looked back. And that thing on the closet was gone. It vanished without a trace. When it was gone, it felt like I had control over myself again, save for one thing. And that being a strange feeling that I shouldn't tell anyone what happened. So, When my mom opened the door and saw me asking why I looked so pale, all I could say was, it was just a bad dream. You know, the one about the werewolves in the kitchen? My mom seemed to understand, or at least thought she did, so she came over and told me it was all right and that monsters weren't real. I really wish that was true. I even went to school like normal, and I forgot about what happened the night before. School ended, I got home, and I went outside to walk around the neighborhood. I was back home before dinner. I went upstairs to go to bed, having completely forgotten or maybe having written it off as a terrible dream, and I tried to go to sleep that night as well. However, it came again. And this time was almost the same as the night before. I lost all of my hearing, and then I could not speak, and finally I was unable to move, muscle, the same as before. And then there was that thing again. This time, it had changed positions. Now it was further down the door, its knees bent backwards like an insect. It was crossing its arms, which I could tell from its new angle, had claws on the end. This thing was now looking right at me. Or at least, it was facing me. If you have a story you would like to share, be sure to send it to truehauntinglog@gmail.com. We read every single submission. If you enjoyed these stories, please leave a like and a comment down below. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share this video with a friend and subscribe for more true horror. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.